each other through it. Come on and see, good movement draws good movement.
Welcome to Good Movement Draws Good Movement, the podcast where farmers, ranchers, and rural folks can grow relationally through awareness, understanding, and effective communication. Hey, it's T. I'm your host, and I, along with my guests, will be covering topics related to drawing good movement. Things like self and social awareness, brain science, positive psychology, extending grace, and so much more. We'll share tools that can help you understand why you are the way you are, why others are the way they are, and how you can use that to step out of self-told lies with grace and compassion to draw good movement in conversations, relationships, and life in rural America. Let's go draw good movement. Welcome back to the Good Movement Draws Good Movement podcast. This week, we have Victoria Mexcur, a licensed mental health therapist practicing in both Nebraska and North Carolina. She works with traumas of all kinds, high performer anxiety, men's health, rural health issues, and she uses EMDR, equine inclusion, experiential, and somatic experiencing practices to support nervous system regulation. Victoria offers in-person and virtual individual sessions. She's a hype-up, straightforward, down-to-earth therapist who says you have the ability to withstand and recover from within by creating simplicity in the chaos. And that's kind of the formal introduction. Victoria and I have met in person, I think, once or twice because our mutual friend and avid listener of the podcast, Jenna, is besties with Victoria. And so not too long ago, we connected on Instagram, and here we are going to have this conversation today. But I did the kind of formal intro, but would you take a minute and tell us a little more about you and how you got to where you are, maybe how you got into therapy, like what made you decide to become a therapist?
Yeah. So I have really just loved I'm claiming Nebraska as being my home. I'm originally from the East Coast, North DC area, but I just fell in love with Nebraska. So that's like my heart home. We moved out to North Carolina not too long ago just to be closer to family. And there's just some life changes that were opportunistic for us, and was able to start my private practice here and do private practice for both Nebraska and North Carolina. So that's just been a lot of fun. And how I started as a therapist was to have the lifelong dream of working with veterans. I still do occasionally. My dad was a vet, and I just wanted to help them kind of come home. So that's kind of where my roots pretty much started. But now I treat, just a variety of different stuff. Trauma is still my heart, though. So that's what I work with primarily.
Tell us a little bit more about that trauma piece. Like, what is trauma?
Sure. Trauma is a very overarching term for things that impact your nervous system and create mental loops that we want to kind of like problem solve. I don't know if anybody is like a ruminator where you just kind of like obsess over, just certain circumstances, or you just feel really overwhelmed physically or underwhelmed. And so there's just a disconnect that happens between the mind and the body when trauma things happen. So that's essentially trauma in a nutshell. It can be passed down generationally. It could be social. It could be vicarious. It could be direct, big, catastrophic things that everyone kind of experiences globally. And it could be as personal as having to do a public speaking kind of thing. So there's just a variety of grades of what trauma looks like for people.
So it's not necessarily this perceived big event that happens. It can be small or big, or it's just dependent on the person.
It is very much dependent on the person and how it impacts how you process your day-to-day life. That's kind of the other avenue. I work with high achieving people with anxiety, and the amount of trauma that some of them have experienced, landed them in perfectionistic territory and overachieving and overfunctioning. And, to kind of spin out of that is is challenging. So there's a gradient of it.
So, what are some of the ways that you help people kind of get out of the loop or off of the merry-go-round or whatever you want to call it?
Yeah. So a lot of what I do is around helping regulate and support the nervous system. I do a lot of somatic experiencing and EMDR. The EMDR has its whole own, ball of wax. And so there's a mental processing that happens to kind of create physical safety and mental safety to essentially let your mind and body process it simultaneously or as simultaneously as you kind of can, and kind of create a out point for the looping to create a reframe or a way for your mind to kind of think of the thing differently and just not be so punchy. Our traumatic impacts pack a punch. And so my job is to try to take the punch out a little bit more safely.
Talking about somatic experiencing, I am just finishing up a Peter Levine book in an unspoken voice.
Oh, that's a good one.
And it's taken me a while because it's like so good, but also I have to stop and like let it soak in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. His stuff is really, really good. I'm actually just finishing up his certification for that type of work. Yeah, it's intensive. It's pretty long, but I absolutely love it. It's my favorite thing to watch how helpful that is and so gentle. Like it's not this in your face, list of things that you got to do in order to, feel better. It's super cool. It's trippy.
It's like reading his book and like learning more about his somatic experiencing. It sounds like he's just taking you back to what your body and nervous system was designed to do in the first place.
Exactly. I think that there's a huge misconception that like your body isn't taking care of you and there's something wrong because you experience trauma or you have anxiety or depression or whatever. No, your body just did so much work and we just suck at understanding what was happening. And so we want to kind of like consistently reorient to the way that your body handled stuff. I hear time and time again, I wish I had defended myself, or I wish I had said this thing, or I wish I had done this thing, or left, or whatever. And I'm like, wait, time out. You did exactly what you were meant to do in that situation. So let's kind of tell your body that you did a good job, like, good job. So yeah, reframing it and reorienting to, no, we did good. What happened? And then unraveling it and kind of unwinding is beautiful stuff.
What I also find interesting about his work is how he like observed animals and how they can go from sympathetic to parasympathetic and back, and it's not like they get stuck.
Yeah. Yep. There is minimal stuck. So they don't typically get stuck because obviously they don't have like the intellectualizing that we would do for that stuff.
And they don't have society putting so much pressure on them to be logical.
Exactly. The shoulds just, blech.
But like tie into the animals. I was on your website earlier and I was like perusing and I saw the team tab and I dropped it down and I noticed that it was all your animals under your name.
Yep. They are my teammates. They all have been beautiful supports in how I kind of work because a lot of the times people just don't trust that they have sensations and that they can be trusted. So the animals have been super helpful in like mirroring some of that and offering immediate feedback and, just offering some sort of like decompression and like mindfulness without being so intrusive. Like it's just really kind of cool that they don't have an agenda. So it makes it safer for people to seek help.
Yeah. Like you were talking about with the somatics, it's like, sounds like it's a lot gentler.
It is. It is very much so. I've had a number of people who are like, horses, why would they work? Like they're livestock essentially, or they're just meant to be ridden or whatever. And I'm like, no, you have no idea the micro movements, the nervous system attachments, Like, just all of the things would be so helpful, and you learn so much in just 15 minutes about yourself if you stay kind of like open to that, perspective. I'd even say the goose and the chickens and the potbelly pig are super therapeutically helpful. So they all have wonderful nervous systems that like people can find so much use in.
I think it's funny that you talked about the goose and the hens because Tom and I are really big in, I mean, that's the premise of this podcast. Good movement draws good movement. It stemmed from my observation of how we move cows to how we interact with humans. And one of our friends, Kurt Pate, who does stockmanship schools around, he stayed here with us for a day or two. And I was telling him about how I use the same principles of stockmanship with my chickens. And he's like, oh, so it's flockmanship. And I said, yes, exactly.
I'm going to have to call it that now because that makes so much sense. These hens have all personalities, and I mean, you got to keep track of that sometimes. I had an absconding one, and that was a whole session. Finally found her, and I was like, listen, we're going to have to track her down because she went missing and we need to go. So, like, literally, I took a client on a scavenger hunt and we processed it and talked about stuff.
But that's so cool because that's not, at least when I think about therapy, that's not what I think about.
Yeah.
I think about sitting on a couch or lying on a couch and word vomiting, but maybe that's not what everybody needs. So I think it's totally cool that you include your animals and you do a different way. You, like me, are really passionate about, I say, disrupting the way that we think and have learned about mental health and emotional well-being in rural America.
Uh-huh.
Do you work with a lot of rural folks? Like, tell us more about what you're doing to be disruptive.
Oh, yeah. Girl, I am here for the disrupting. I love working with rural folks. There's a commitment to values and morals and ethics and just like amazing people who have experienced a certain level of like intimate brokenness sometimes that doesn't feel safe to be able to talk about. And I'm gonna be honest with you, like a lot of the times therapists get stigmatized as being like these, authority type figures who just are like going to the doctor and, you can't talk plainly to them. I mean, there are certain circumstances where, yes, that works, but it just doesn't work for me. I would rather have a phone call with a farmer and then be like, hey, listen, like harvest is happening like right now. I can't, sit with you for an hour the way that we want to. Can I just have a phone call with you, running on 2 hours of sleep, stressing out because it's going to rain? And, I'd be like, sure, absolutely. More than happy to kind of figure out how to manage some of that if necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing thrills me more than someone to take a phone call in a combine. Just kidding. Please don't do that on a regular. But
Well, I mean, now the combines kind of drive themselves,
yeah,
depending on what kind of equipment you have.
right.
You didn't grow up rurally, though, correct?
No, I didn't. I grew up in the suburbs, but I think I've always had this barefoot mud type of life growing up. I grew up being around horses and, that kind of stuff. So just being a little bit more earthy and feral has just always been my vibe.
Earthy and feral, put it on a sticker.
Yeah, making a t-shirt.
So you grew up in the suburbs. What got you to Nebraska?
So my husband's job brought us out there, and then I just kind of like fell in love. I went to the University of Nebraska at Kearney for my grad school. I started working at the VA and CHI, and so we kind of just stuck around for a long time, and that was a lot of our career foundation for us.
I mean, Kearney is not a huge city, but it's not what I would call rural either.
No.
So how did you kind of get immersed in the rural farming, ranching community?
Yeah. So shout out to Jenna because, she's going to be listening to this.
Yeah, and she's going to be trying to talk to us while we're talking.
Yeah, exactly. So my husband gave me permission to buy a horse, and then I needed a place to board. And at that point, Jenna and Seth were running a place in Grand Island. We had moved to Grand Island for work, and I just fell in love with her. Like, I told her that she was going to be my best friend, and she never said no. So it just kind of landed that way. And then I was just like, whatever you want to do, I'm game for. I have full respect for the lifestyle and just the livelihood of ranchers and farmers. And they all have become, just really close friends of mine. And then when I started my private practice, for some reason, I was starting to get more ranchers and farmers from Nebraska as I was moving. So I was like, yes, I am more than happy to do this. I want to say that I think it's easier for people to see me because I'm not in their towns or in their communities. So it keeps anonymity super like chill and low key. And so it's easier for them to see me since I don't live there. And I understand, or at least try to understand, where some of the stuff is coming from. And so it ends up being to my client's benefit that I don't live there. They don't get to see me at, the grocery store.
Yeah, I've heard that from people that I visit with is like, oh, it's kind of, I don't want to have to go somewhere where people might know me or see me.
Exactly.
The other thing that I hear is I tried a couple of therapists and they just didn't understand rural life.
That's so sad.
I know. They're like, I spent the whole time explaining the lifestyle.
Ugh.
So all that to say, I think that it's really cool that you are able to work remotely and you have an understanding and a passion for rural America, agriculture, all the things.
Yeah, they are my heart at this point. I wouldn't change it. In fact, I sometimes will work clients in a certain way. So then that way, if I go out to Nebraska, I can see them during the day or at different times of the season. Like, obviously, I'm not going to see somebody during calving season. I'm not going to see somebody during, harvest, or planting season, but I am available for a phone call and try to be of service, that fits within their kind of like schedule and routine. So there's been a time or two where I've taken a phone call in the pasture or literally been out at Jenna's and I'm like, hey, I need to get up to a mountain. I need to get onto a hill.
A cell phone signal in the sandhills.
Exactly. But yeah, it's tough for sure.
What are some ways that people listening can help kind of break the stigma or start on their own healing journey or talking to rural folks who are maybe a little bit nervous about seeing someone or being misunderstood or all the reasons that you might be hesitant to go see a counselor, or just like how to get started into
how to get started. Honestly, I'm more than happy to be a point of contact. And I'm not doing this to like promote myself or anything. I do this for free. It is not, a service. But reach out to people that you do know who would be able to kind of direct you in a different place. I know a number of wonderful rural therapists that would be happy to work with other, rural community members. They understand the limitations sometimes and are very well versed in that. The other, I hate to say it, and this is actually like my bit of a challenge. If ranchers and farmers are pull themselves up by their bootstraps and just like the most gritty, punchy, get her done, type of people, then reaching out to, say, for instance, me is not technically supposed to be a problem. Like, I challenge people to reach out because like that's part of your value is how just go-getter you are. So let's use that as a skill not something that you can't do. Because, I mean, you can do all kinds of really scary things. Like, I've witnessed it. I get scared sometimes.
Like tagging that cow's calf that you know she's a man eater. That's way more scary than reaching out.
Exactly. Way more scary than reaching out to somebody for a 15-minute conversation. And then at that point, you could be like, hey, listen, this ain't for me. I'm not about it. Totally fine.
I say that's way more scary, but like we talked about at the beginning of this, like trauma is different for everybody. So
Yes, exactly.
I'm far more scared of the man-eater cow than I am talking to someone. But that might not be the same for the next person.
No, exactly. So to me, that would probably be helpful. Like, I want there to be an honoring of the grit. Like, if you're really gritty and that is what works for you, then this can be an area where that also works for you. We're not, wanting you to be soft and extra gentle. We just want the process to be gentle for you. But that doesn't mean that you are losing, your identity in making a phone call or sending a text. If texting is easier, send me a text. If emailing is easier, send the email. If you're like, hey, I don't really want to talk to you, but let me know the next time you're in Nebraska. Sounds good?
What are, other than, being a counselor, therapist, what are some other ways that you're kind of helping break that stigma and be disruptive?
So I do a lot of, like, when I go out to see Jenna, or if I'm local in the 4-H, one of my really good friends is an extension officer. So I kind of do a little bit more grassroots, like get to know me kind of stuff. I know a lot of horse people in this community, and some of them are actual ranchers here. And so I extend a welcome to them doing stuff like this. And yeah, just kind of making myself be real. Like, I'm not some figment of imagination, or therapists are people too. I have humanity type stuff.
What? No way.
I had no idea. Like, if you could see me right now, I'm in coveralls because it's actually cold here in North Carolina with an ice storm. So literally today I had coveralls and muck boots on and had to break ice and just do things that needed cared for. So we are normal. We are human.
I love that you go to like 4-H and do extension things. That's super cool. Because I think, like, not so much with other kids, but with my own kids, I've been just trying to do things differently than the way I was taught growing up.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, I mean, it's not ever this or that, one or the other, black and white, like my parents loved me, and there were ways that I was hurt growing
Yeah,
up.
exactly. Yeah, it's both.
And I didn't know how to, one, move emotion through me, and two, use it for the information that it was trying to provide.
Right.
So I spent a lot of my life comfortably numb, and I don't want that for my kids. So I know that as a parent, I'm going to wound them. And like, we're human, right? Everybody hurts.
We all hurt everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I really want them set up better with the tools to be able to use the information that emotions are trying to provide and move it through so that they're not like stuck in a functional freeze for most of their life.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting because I think maybe the biggest hurt that I see in rural communities is the lack of repair available. Like, everyone just kind of keeps going with the flow, copacetic. Let's just be numb to these things. Because at the end of the day, like, a cow's life matters, a bull's life matters. Like, the functionality and the reality is that there's more important things, quote unquote. But if you kind of like keep rolling with those things, you're gonna get more and more numb. You're gonna get more and more upset. You're gonna have bigger issues that you're like, how did we get here? And it can all be started with some level of repair. You kind of have to be able to practice that.
Yeah. And it's hard. It's so hard. If you didn't grow up witnessing repair, it's so hard to step into it yourself. I'm speaking from experience here because I think I talked about it on the podcast several episodes ago, but how I said something to our middle daughter 7 years ago
Yeah.
that was uncalled for and not helpful. And I apologized to her 7 years after it happened.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It's never too late to repair.
No, it really isn't.
And also, I understand how hard it can feel
Yeah,
because it feels unsafe,
very much so.
especially when you grew up hearing, like, you didn't witness it and you grew up hearing, because I said so, or because I'm the parent, that's why.
Yeah, that's a tough one for sure.
Just something to add when you were talking about the animals and the things being more important than ourselves. Like, I have talked about a little bit before, like, we care a lot about our animals and the land and regenerative practices and all these things.
Yep,
And we put ourselves on the back burner, but we are the foundation of the operation.
exactly. And I mean, it's just like mind blowing to me because I witness the crisis and I witness like the availability for potential repair. And I'm like, guys, like we can work this a little bit smarter if we take a little bit of time and take care of ourselves. I kind of use the example of like bonfires. So here's a nice giveaway. If you're constantly putting out a forest fire or a wildfire, right? If that's what it feels like all the time, you're forgetting that you have actual little fire pits that you're neglecting, and those can start turning into wildfires. So if we're not doing some version of like containment of the fires that we have, then it's going to turn into something big. So, I mean, yes, there are certain wildfires that kind of like are perpetual, but we're also avoiding like taking care of the fire pits that we can manage by over focusing on, well, what if a wildfire happens? Well, we've taken care of that. Let's kind of also manage some of these, and then you won't have a wildfire happening in that kind of regard.
Yeah, that's good stuff. If somebody is like, they recognize that they need help and they're not quite ready to reach out,
Sure.
are there some quick tools? I say quick tools. I don't mean quick because none of this healing is quick. Let's just be honest. It's a slow burn.
Yeah, slow burn.
I had somebody, I was using the slow burn analogy and they really like to barbecue. And I'm like, they were like, I want it to go fast. I want it to go fast. I'm like, but what cooks the better steak?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sorry, but a brisket or like nice pulled pork is not gonna be fast. You want that fall off the bone, it needs to be smoked and slow.
Yes. So I say quick, but what I mean is like some simple tools that they can start on their own, like exercises or something to get started with that nervous system regulation, maybe to get them to a point where they feel safe enough to reach out.
Yeah. So my go-to for this kind of stuff is, where is it in your body? We can kind of notice the punch really quickly, or we notice like, oh, this feels really icky. So where is it in your body that you notice it? What could be supportive to that body part or that sensation that you're having? If we can kind of start from a supportive angle, so like say for instance, my stomach is in knots. Okay, would it be helpful if I were to hold my hands there? Would it be helpful if I were to lay down? Would it to be helpful if I drink a little bit of water? Is it telling me that I'm hungry? The more we can kind of pay attention to maybe removing some of the lack of body awareness, then we can kind of help support a system that's working already. We don't want to stop the work from happening. We don't want to be like, oh my gosh, now I need to rest and do all of these other things. It's no, time out for just 30 seconds, not much time. Where is it in my body? What would feel supportive for it? And can I take a breath? If the answer is no, that's okay. Ask that question again in 5 minutes. Can I do anything to change this? Probably not. Can I do a next thing? If the answer is no, stay there. If the answer is yes, what is it? The other one is this mine? If we notice a punch or we notice an ick, is it my ick that I am a participant to, or is it somebody else's ick? To your point, the because I said so. I get an ick if I hear that because I experienced some of that. But somebody else might not have that ick. So can I check in with whose ick is it? If, say, for instance, your grandparents had a certain method of running the farm and ranching, and you're like, wait, this doesn't make sense. And you're noticing that you're getting overwhelmed. Oh, is that my discomfort? Or is that the discomfort that they probably felt in making these plans? Oh, okay. So whose is it? Is it my crap or is it your crap? Maybe quite literally.
Oh, I love that. Whose cow pie am I stepping in?
Exactly. Whose cow pie are you stepping in?
Oh, that's good stuff. Okay. If we talked about somebody wants to reach out to you, you're happy to do that. Where can people find you?
They can find me at treaddeepcounseling.com. They can find me on Instagram, and they can find me on Facebook, and I can give you my email address and my phone number.
And we can put all of that in the show notes.
All of that in the show notes. If you're just listening and you want to put it in your phone, it's 402-403-9561.
Also on Instagram, she shares pictures of the rest of the team.
Oh, yeah.
FYI.
Yep. It is their expose of life. I'm only their social media manager.
That's awesome. All right. I really appreciate you coming and having this conversation today. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. Thanks.
Thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely.
And with that, until next time, draw a good movement. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm so grateful for you. If you found value in this episode, I'd love for you to share with others who might also benefit from tuning in. Share by word of mouth, send it in a text, take a screenshot and post it on social media, or share however you prefer. And if you haven't already, hit the follow or subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Until next time, draw good movement.